So hello, Holly Dowling, and welcome. I'm so thrilled that you've joined me today.
I am so excited to be here, Donna, and honored to be here with you. I've been looking forward to this, my friend.
Yay! So what we're talking about today is rebel leadership, and specifically your rebel leader journey. So what I'm excited to discover and explore with you is your unique path, right? Because that's what rebel leadership is all about, is that instead of following somebody else's path, you understand how you uniquely are created. And because of that, you discover and explore your own path. So we'll jump right in, Holly, and tell me, because this is a very exciting topic. I can't wait to hear what your thoughts are on it.
Oh, well, you know, when you first told me about Rebel Leader and I went wild, I was like, that is brilliant and amazing. And I literally got the goosies. And now that we're getting to talk about it, I'm not being funny, but I am going to laugh and say, I don't know that I could be more excited about talking about something that has been my life journey. So the fact that the rebel leader and doing it your way, not the world's way, is kind of an affirmation to how crazy as it sounds, I've always done it kind of the non-traditional way. Never put terms to doing it as the rebel, but I love it because I can own that. And it's become far more intentional over the last few years. But in the beginning, Donna, of my journey, it was like following that gut feeling of feeling like, you know, I'm doing things that aren't the traditional way of doing it to build a global speaking platform and as a thought leader. And I mean, I'm going to drive right. Can I jump right in right now?
Jump right in. Yes.
Because this defines rebel. And I just hope people that hear this get to truly take this in. But it's like, I feel like we all sit sometimes feeling that nudge and feeling that like urge that we know we're being called to do something. We know we're being pushed to do something that's bigger than ourselves. But what do we always do? We pause, we step back, and we look at how all the other people have done it that are maybe doing it at a little bit more advanced level than us, or maybe doing it, you know, in a way that we aspire to do it. So we immediately, subconsciously, go into feeling that, oh, well, I guess I got a long road ahead of me. Now I got to think about doing this, this, and this because this is what they're doing. So example for me, you know, as a global speaker, and I like to use the word messenger and inspirational messenger. It's very important to me. And I'm passionate about leaders. As you and I both know, it's a connection we share and love. And you don't need a title to lead everybody. But I will say that leading is serving. So when I really started this journey, people, kind people, well-intended people will give you what they think you should do. So the first piece of advice I'm going to say is, at this moment moving forward, stop shooting on yourself. And that's SHOULD, Donna. Don't worry. I said the good word. Stop shooting on yourself and stop shooting on others. Because when I realized that I'm not going to be, I don't like to write. I have no passion to do that. Why would I aspire to be a best-selling author? Because other people in my path have said, well, you better get that best-selling book out there. No, that's not going to be on my checklist. Better get a speaker agent, you know, an agent or a speaker's bureau or somebody to represent you. To this moment, still don't have one, haven't needed one. And I know with good intention, and I want people to know there's many good things that have come out of TED Talks. Never done one, not planning on doing one, and haven't needed to. So in every step of the way, if you study and learn about having a speaking platform, most people would say you got to have a book, you got to have a TED Talk, and best-selling book that is, and you got to have an agent or speaker's bureau. So all three of the above, boom.
Not you. So you completely defied the default there.
Totally defied it. And now I say that with joy because I love that I've defied it, because for the first time ever, I'm able to share all of that with other people in my extraordinary speaker and to help people bring their light and their message to the world without feeling that stepping back, shrugging their shoulders and thinking, I'll never get to do this because I have to do all these other things. So my philosophy has been, tell me no, watch me go. Find your way, but find your lane, right? Figure out what your specialty in your lane is, and don't try to be all things to everybody. Kind of like what you've done. You've been extremely decisive and very intentional about Brighton leadership and what you do, Donna, and you're extraordinary at what you do with culture and transformation and change and C-suite. So I think for me, defying it all has been the greatest thing in the world. I'm not going to say I wasn't scared at times, and I didn't have the old shoulding. Oh, I better go. I got a ghostwriter about 9 years ago.
Wow.
Because I thought I should get that book done.
And how'd that go?
Yeah, it's still sitting over there in the corner, and she and I have a great relationship, but I said, this doesn't feel right to me.
Right.
And I think what rebel leadership is all about, it's defying what the world thinks you should do and stay true to your heart and what your highest soul's calling is, because trust me, when you follow that, everything will come into place. So we are booked out, and I say we have a beautiful team of people, but all my business is referral, and it's usually booked out between 2 to 2.5 years in advance.
That's spectacular. So let's talk about your rebel journey, right? Because it's not like you jumped out age one and you knew exactly what you were going to do and how you're going to pursue your path. So share a little bit of the journey in discovering and trusting yourself, because a lot of people struggle with that, like you said, knowing yourself, but trusting yourself even more importantly. So how did you get there where you were able to be so clear and decisive and at the same time trust that instinct?
Oh, this is a good one. This is kind of juicy. So can I go back to something that I don't even know if you know this. So this is first thing that's coming to me as I'm listening to you ask me this question. And I want people to know, I did not set out to do this business. This business found me. Now that in itself is defying the traditional way that we go about things. What I want you to know is in the beginning of this journey of mine, this business found me. So are you willing and are you ready to follow the nudge and the soul's move? When doors open, are you saying yes? Or are you stepping back in fear and saying no? So the reason I'm saying this goes back to 1997. And trying to make a long story short, I was at the time living in Denver, Colorado, and I was part of a really fabulous women's group. This women's group I had met through my church at the time. And through that group, we were sharing our stories, right? And there was a woman in the group that stopped me as we were leaving, and her name is Peggy. And I want you to know, Donna, I just shared this story for the first time probably 2 to 3 months ago. And over next to me by my bookshelf, I will grab it in a moment and show you something to share. She pulled me aside and she said, I'm a high school teacher. And I don't know why, but I feel like my students need to hear your story. And my mouth dropped. And I said, you want me to tell what I just shared with you all, like the real story of in a really abusive situation and be brutally honest? I said, but I believe in dreams and all that. She says, I want you to share everything. They need it and I can't explain it. How soon can you come? So I trusted, having no clue, like I've never really talked about it until then, and went down to that high school. It was about 2 weeks later. She had combined 2 high school classrooms. And I basically shared with these young, beautiful, innocent, in a really tough part of town, high school students, about what it's like to have dreams and goals and to have them crushed. But not because people mean to crush them, but I also talked about falling into an incredibly violent, abusive relationship that could have destroyed me and ended my life. And I told them very, very bluntly everything that happened. And I had no idea, Donna, and this is what I want everybody to realize, that sometimes when you're willing to step out of fear and faith, you have no idea the way your life's going to be impacted and the journey that's about to happen. There was a line of students, boys and girls, waiting to thank me, but boys crying, saying, after today, I don't ever want to do what I'm seeing done in my home. The point to the whole thing is, though, I realized something, that it was bigger than me, right? This was not Holly. This was, I'm going to be honest and say, I know it was God working through me. But 2 days later, Peggy called and she said, you need to know something. One of the girls in the class wrote a 3-page letter. And she said she wants to give it to you, but we had to share it with the administration and a few other people, but you need to see this letter. You've changed her life forever. And she gave me the letter, and it's sitting over in a little Ziploc baggie that I carry with me everywhere, because when I'm ever wondering why I'm doing what I'm doing, I go back to that letter. It's tattered and torn, but the essence of the letter was that young lady who was 15 was going home that day and had it all planned to take her life because she'd been being sold for cocaine, for sex by her father, to neighbors, to friends, and she felt worthless and there was nothing left. So she had her entire suicide planned. On that day, in that moment, she said, "You gave me hope to know that I am worth something more than that and that I was put here for a reason." So in the midst of a 3-page letter, this business found me. And when you follow that and you truly know, let go of all the noise, it ended up the high school wanted, I came to speak at an assembly. They invited parents to come. And then there were parents with their business cards and IBM asked if I would come speak. So many things have happened since then, ups and downs. I ended up, helping out with the Summit of the 8 Presidents of the World in Denver, Colorado, part of the African American Consulate. And before you know it, you never know what doors will open. But if you're not willing to just say, I'm stepping into it out of fear into faith, you have no idea. And that defies what most people would have been willing to do. If I hadn't have said yes to that woman, who knows what I'd be doing today, Donna? That's escalated at another level, right?
But what I heard even more powerfully, Holly, in that story was the willingness to be authentic.
Yeah.
And I think so many times today, people feel as though they need to be something other than who they really are. And so you had the courage to be authentically yourself, and people resonate with authenticity in a way that a shiny, pretty veneer doesn't work for them. So that authenticity connected, changed a life, and changed the trajectory of your career.
Yeah.
And so as people think about following their path, I'm hearing whatever that path is beginning in a place of authenticity and saying yes to the opportunities as they arise.
Yes, and may I. And I love that you just said that authenticity, because I'm a firm believer in that. But I'm going to also admit something, that there has been the challenge as growing this business and getting to that level at a global platform. You need to know the timing of this is truly unbelievable, because it wasn't until about 3 years ago that I gave myself permission to be interviewed and share that very dark story publicly at a level that I had never done. And I want everyone to know that what held me back, yes, it might have been shame, but more importantly, that authenticity part of me, Donna, was scared to death, because I thought, I have clients all over the world. I do a lot in the leadership space.
Right.
Why would anybody want to buy damaged goods?
Oh.
That's what my head was saying. So when I let go of that, once again, life is a journey, right? It's not a perfect path that's going to be, woo, this has all been lovely and easy. No, but I had to trust again, probably one of the biggest trust factors I've ever done, to say, if I share this story and I reveal, other people's lives might be healed. And it happened in a way I could never have imagined. And just last night, that story hit a documentary film that was released all over the world. And so our timing that we're together, and I had no idea we were going to even talk about this, but for everybody out there, to really be a rebel leader, to me, to truly honor yourself means being a rebel at times. And it's saying yes to being the true self. And I held back on that for a long time too. But then when I let it go, I never looked back.
Congratulations on the release of that movie. And I have a question for you, Holly, because I know you're an extremely thoughtful and intentional person, and you do a lot in terms of planning and goal setting and so on. So how do you reconcile, right? Like people who have goals and dreams for their life and they plan it out, with also being authentically yourself and saying yes when doors open that weren't on that plan and goal list? What do you do?
Okay, can I just show you something? Can I stand up and grab something? Because this question, you can't believe where this is going. Hold on, I'm coming right back. This is gonna take 1 minute. I gotta show you something, Donna, the fact that you asked that, because I'm a huge believer in goals and dreams.
Yes.
Right, like you, didn't understand the scientific and brain background to how powerful it is, even from being a little girl. I was that overweight, shy little girl in 3rd grade, watching Love Boat and Fantasy Island that dreamed to be a cruise director. And I made that a goal and had a dream, and against the odds of everybody telling me it'll never happen, I did it. That's another story on another day.
Okay.
Talk about a rebel leader story. But I wanted to show you, this is what I just mentioned, the little Ziploc baggie and the little letters sitting right in there. But talking about goals and dreams, never understood, and I know you're passionate about the power of neuroscience in the brain. Probably not till about 5 years ago did I understand how important it is that we do visualize, that we put in our brains and visualize. I mean, the Happiness Institute and Dr. Richard Hansen have done so much work around this, that it actually activates the dendrites in the brain, and so much can happen. So if you don't think you need goals, you're going down the wrong path. It's like going to the restaurant and saying, just bring me anything. Well, you'll get anything then. You got to have a goal, to have a vision, to have your dreams come true. So I've saved all of these, but in 2006, I wrote and had it on a yellow piece of construction paper on my mirror. And I'm showing this to everybody because I save it. I've done these all the time. And it said my goals. At the time, I was dreaming of making 3,000 a day speaking.
Okay.
And I had it, you write it down and be intentional. How many times a month? Once a month for 12 months. Then I put the next one. It's going to be 2 to 5 years. I'm going to make 5 to 7,500. I literally wrote it out. 5 to 10 years, I'm going to make 10,000 a day. And I literally put in my craft and niche, inspire, unleash the hidden talents and passions, and empower people all over the world. As of last year, all of this hasn't just happened, but because of having a visual, my rate is now 35,000 a day.
Congratulations.
All of that started because of having a goal, right? And I just want people to know, like, stick it in a journal, but put it on your mirror, put it in front of you.
Yeah.
So you ask about goals, I share, there it is.
There it is. There it is. So have you had experience along your journey, sometimes when you set an intention or define a goal, when you actually find out maybe that goal wasn't for you, right? Like you went to school for a major and then you go out and you become whatever that major was. And you're like, that's not the career for me. So what happens when you set the goals and you realize that's not exactly what you wanted?
Oh, I think that's a really, really great question. And actually, I mean, as I'm listening to you, I'm picturing a compass.
Okay.
Because goals are like a compass, right? They kind of keep us in alignment of where we're going, but it doesn't mean that they aren't going to shift or change, because the goals I had for this year obviously have pivoted, because we never knew coming into this decade of a dynasty that we were going to be faced with a pandemic.
Right.
So absolutely, goals give us a vision, and they give us the energy, and they activate the brain. You also can't be so tied to a goal that you aren't ready to pivot and shift. Does it mean, I don't mean pivoting from your values. I'm big on definition of happiness, much more than success for me. Like happiness brings success, but if you're making your goals and you're aligning them to your alignment of your values and your definition of happiness, then you're still not losing that compass. It's just changing the path and how that might happen. So like all of us. And when you ask that story of the cruise director, I mean, I went to college to be an attorney. So there I was getting ready to go to pre-law, and I called my dad. I hated everything about it. And I called and said, I want to travel the world. I want to quit. I still had the dream of being Julie before anything in hospitality existed. So again, you know, I made a shift. I didn't quit college. I finished with a degree, but I went and pursued my passion, because I believe that they're butterflies on our shoulders, and you know they're there just even since you were a little person. It's just, what are you willing to do to remove the noise and the clutter? Well-intended people shit on us, and we don't need to have that, in kind and gracious, but stay true to you and keep and be willing to shift. Sometimes we got to shift. Does that answer your question? I feel like.
Certainly. And I thought something really interesting you shared. You talked about happiness versus success. And I think just like leadership and a path, oftentimes we accept what other people tell us our definition of success should be. Have you ever thought about what success means to you in your world, in your life?
Oh, yes. And it's when I realized, Donna, about, I don't know how many years ago, not that long ago, that I was getting too hung up on the definition of success, and success being the professional person I was, and all of that. Whereas when I stepped back and realized I need to recreate and focus on what defines happiness for Holly. And then what defines happiness for Holly and her husband? Because now our kids are out of the house and gone. So it's really, and when I shifted my entire mindset from going from just success to happiness, happiness is 4 things for me. And I'll share with you all, I have a ritual that is the most important part of my life. And every morning, if you could see it, it's like a quadrant on the wall or like a cross.
Okay.
And each box has a word: spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical. And my day starts with feeding my spiritual, my physical, my mental, and my emotional. And throughout the day, I make sure I have intentionally done things that fill some parts of that. But if I don't fill that, my happiness is void. And what I have found when I completely recalibrated and basically rebelled myself from being all focused on success to more focused on happiness, success has come in the most unbelievable, abundant ways, because I shifted my focus to what brings me joy and what is true happiness. And material things can come and go. I know what it's like to have a lot and to lose it all. So, you know, not that everybody has to go through that to figure that out, but I think if we honor the experiences that this beautiful life has given us, some are dark, some are beautiful, all of them have been given to us to create the path we're on, to be a higher service to this world.
Holly, what I love about what you shared is you've really integrated all of you into that definition, right? You talked about, a lot of people just talk about success from a possession or a professional perspective versus saying, wow, what does it look like for me as a person to feel happiness or be successful, right? And I like to think of it as the difference between achievement. You know, you can achieve a lot of things, but you may not be fulfilled.
Yes. Oh, I love that, Donna. That's profound. We got to tweet that one. I love that.
So, and thinking about success, and even leadership. In fact, my master's thesis was on holistic leadership, bringing all of yourself to your leadership. And that's, for me, is what rebel leadership is about, which is why the authenticity piece is so essential, right? It's why following your path matters so much, because if you aren't doing that, you're not bringing all of you to what you're doing. And right now during the pandemic, it's interesting because I believe that the lines between, you know, personal and professional got blurred, but they were never there to begin with.
Ooh,
we never had a personal life and a professional life. We have a life, and we make choices every day and how we live that life. And somehow we like artificially made up this construct, personal, professional, and that was never the case. And I see that in leaders too, right? Where they're this leadership person in the office, but then they're a different person at home. And to me, that is inauthentic as a leader.
I love this so much because I'm passionate about this, and I'm going to add something to this piece because it's so powerful what you're saying. And I think people need to hear more and more about examples from other leaders and other people, whether we have our own businesses, but people in the corporate arena that are leading, or even not leading a team, just leading yourself and influencing others, right?
Yes.
To me, I'm not a fan of the word work-life balance. And I'm very open about that. I'm like, to me, it's work-life boundaries. When you have your boundaries and you are very clear on your non-negotiables, you're able to integrate your work and life in a way that they aren't one's here and one's there.
Right.
And then you can bring your most beautiful self, truly authentic self, and the greatest version of yourself, instead of the worn out, exhausted, half you know what version of yourself, to the table. That's all anybody's getting anyways. So when you can stop, recalibrate, create some non-negotiables, have work-life boundaries, you have happiness, but you also have the integration of both.
Yes. And that is the magic word, Holly, that integration, right? Because integration is about living in integrity. And so many times people think integrity is about ethics or honesty or whatever. But to me, integrity is that fully integrated life.
Ooh, I love the word integrity. Thank you for saying that. Because you're right. There's a lot of buzzwords out there, but that's kind of like staying true to who you are and not worrying about trying to fit in.
Yes.
People, and honestly, Donna, for the people that are listening, if we were to really, and maybe this is a great challenge for everyone, is to take a few minutes and pause. I always love that time alone with a piece of paper or journal and take a few minutes of pure silence and write, but start thinking about who are the people that you have chosen to follow that over a lifetime you do respect. And the reason I say this is truly go to who do you respect, because not because the world told you to,
Right.
or anybody else did. And then write down the qualities. What is it about them? You will probably learn a lot about your great qualities because they will mirror the people that you have the highest level of respect for.
Yes. And Holly, you didn't know this, but
What?
you magically have revealed a good portion of the process that we use to discover your leadership voice.
Oh, well, I'm so glad I'm going to be a part of it.
So part of creating your leadership voice is defining what leadership means to you. And exactly what you just described in identifying those qualities is a step that helps people then shape their definition. So thank you, my friend, for sharing.
I love, well, and of course, we're always aligned, but I love that that came from a completely different perspective. And it's just one more reason that people, we need to be together, this community. I love what you've created, the Rebel community, and being amongst other amazing, brilliant people that can share in this, and like just taking the time to do that. I love that you're doing that, Donna. Oh,
Yes. So Holly, I would love for you to share any tips you have for other leaders as they're discovering themselves and creating their path. So you've done a great job of sharing about goal setting, about being authentic, about saying yes. What else would you share with leaders about creating and following your path?
For themselves, not for others, correct?
Correct.
I think that it doesn't, people believe that it's too late to dream. It's never too late to dream. It's never too late to reinvent and renew you. So what a better time than right now, during this climate we're all in right now, to take some time to be a little selfish and recalibrate who you are and why you are choosing to be a leader in this world. And to define what that is that energizes you around that. Not because other people tell you this is why you should do it. Really let go of the noise. Give yourself space. Be a little selfish right now more than ever, because when you're a little selfish, you can be far more selfless. So that would be my piece of advice.
Amazing. Holly, thank you so much for this inspirational time for the Rebel Leader community and all those who are interested in it. And for anybody who wants to get in touch with you and learn more about your magnificent and amazing Rebel Leader path, where can they find you and how would you like them to contact you?
Oh, I love this. And, you know, our website, go to hollydowling.com. There is so much out there you can learn about us. I invite you to explore. Let us know how we can support you. We're on all social media, you know, Facebook, LinkedIn. You'll see and hear because of Donna and LinkedIn. So just reach out to hollydowling.com and let us know what we can do to support you. And just know we're all in this together.
Fantastic. Thank you, Holly. I appreciate your time and have a spectacular rest of your day.